Thursday, May 28th. I'm Ken Richards, and with me is our guest, Chesley Hamilton, just arriving, bang on time, Chesley.
Good morning, Mr. Richards, and good morning to all of your listeners,
Thank you very much.
home and abroad.
And of course, we're going to ask Chesley to comment on a number of current issues. But before we actually begin, let's get a few messages from our sponsors.
Rams is for you and me. Giving back to community. Rams is for you and me. Better for your family. Better service, better price, better value, better choice. Rewarding you for loyalty. Rams is for you and me. Better price and quality.
Free data with your top up. Enjoy your 1 gigabyte weekend data bonus when you top up today, $25 or more. Share all your fun times at home with your loved ones and stay entertained streaming your favorite online content on the best LTE network. Stay safe and stay connected with Flow. Top up $25 or more today and get 1 gigabyte of data free. Conditions apply.
Thank you, and welcome, Chesley, to Voices.
Thank you, Ken, and thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Of course, as I indicated earlier, there are a lot of things happening, including a Labour Party injunction, which is being heard before the court today as we speak. Constituency boundary issues is resurfacing to some extent. We'll hopefully take a little look at that. Yesterday was nominations day. I want your views on that as well. And we're going to begin, though, with two political addresses. We're going to hear from Minister Eugene Hamilton, the PAM anti-immunity candidate for constituency number 8. And we'll also hear from Dr. Terence Drew of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, also speaking last night at a virtual meeting. So let us kick the ball, let us get it rolling with Eugene Hamilton.
All of a sudden, a lot of people just talking on the radio and in the media. I want to tell them, talk only when you have something to say, not because you have to say something. And too many talkers. And they talk so carelessly, some of them who say they are social scientists. They've studied everything they say, but they talk so carelessly. Stop the talking. The world will not be changed by your opinion, but by what you do. And let's do something. Because most of them who talking have done nothing. Some are talking about me. My record is clear. The people in this country who have benefited from my work are those thousands of persons who are public servants, who have medical insurance because of what I have done. Stop talking and let's do. That's what I have done. They talk. Chatty. And you know when they talk, after they don't fill up the pocket, they talk. Only in St. Christopher, as a opposition party prancing saying election come too early. Can you imagine that? The effect of the injunction really is elections too early. I thought opposition always want to get in government and will want elections come. That's what I thought. But only in St. Christopher, an opposition prancing around saying elections too early. So the man who has earned the reputation of, when he was the prime minister, of giving a Dougie, he now come to the people as an opposition leader and want to give an opposition Dougie. Dougie, your time has come and gone. It's as simple as that. Recognize that there are new champions in town, new leadership in town, people who know how to deliver for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. I heard that there is an injunction. I said the effect of which is really about the election and the election being too early. You remember it was in March that the Parliament was affected by the decision of the appeal court, when the leader of the opposition then was put out of the Parliament. I had on many occasions before told him that he was in Parliament illegally and that he was in violation of Section 26(5) of the Constitution and therefore could be charged for sitting in Parliament and making decisions when he had reasonable knowledge to know he should not be there. But he still come, make all them decisions, even make the bill for term limits fail. That's what he did in our Parliament. And you know what is interesting about that? The court put him out, and the two people from the Douglas Labour Party who remain can't make a decision. The man out of the Parliament, you know, and they can't decide which of them to be the leader. Well, if Marcella and if Conwys, you elect them, they had an opportunity to be leader and don't want to be leader, what are coming to you for to tell you elect them again? That's what it's about. When you get elected, you must be in a position to serve in the capacity that comes to you. How can you be elected? An opportunity to lead in the Parliament, and you say, I'll wait until Douglas come back in. That's who is asking you in Central Bastia to vote for them. But that is why I say that the people in Central Bastia must vote for General Powell. The one you now have has failed to lead in our Parliament, does not deserve another term. The same is true for the youngster who's still in kindergarten from the West. He had a chance to lead and refused to lead. How then can this man come to you again and tell you to vote for him? I'm saying to you, my friends in constituency number 3, when you elect someone to lead and they have the opportunity to lead and they don't take the opportunity to lead, when they come to you again, tell them, no time. No time. So those of you in number 3, I'm urging you to vote for the candidate of the Team Unity government, Akila Nisbet, Byron Nisbet. Let us bring her home in the Parliament. So my good friends, I know it was in March that Dougie was kicked out. So he could not have expected that any election will go beyond the 15th of June, 10 days from the day when we're having the election. So what's the point of injunction, which in effect is saying the elections come too early? Now, it's a mask they're putting on. It's a mask. We all know what they're saying. The election's too early because they believe some benefit will come if the longer the elections stay to be called, to be named, to be placed. But they don't know because in 1918, the pandemic then lasted 2 years. So they really don't know. So what's the point? Bring the elections on, they say. We're playing smart. When you bring it on, it's too early. They don't know what they want. So if you have two youngsters, well, one of them not so young, who say they don't want to lead, waiting for Dougie to come back in, I say to the entire country, put all of them out to pasture once and for all. Today I was nominated. Today I paid $150. Today 2 wonderful and beautiful ladies witnessed my nomination. I have it here, man. I will be on the ballot on the 5th day of June in constituency number 8.
Cause you keep doing the things you do.
So why should you vote for me? Why should you vote for me? I make the case for you to give me another term because of the performance in 5 years while I was a part of the Team Unity government. The performance is second to none. My own constituency has benefited from $9 million worth of household repair, 3.4 million of which went in labor costs. That is going straight into the pockets. It went straight into the pockets of the people who live and work in my constituency. Over 600 persons today are receiving $500 every month in my constituency. It never happened under Labour, has it? It's happening because of Team Unity. That's it. It is the Team Unity administration that introduced those measures, all of which have benefited the persons in my constituency. When I light the field in Keon and youngsters can play sports at night, that is a good reason to give Eugene Hamilton a second term. When I build the roads in Cunningham and in Cabestry housing and put in cable, that is a good reason to vote for Eugene Hamilton and give him a second term. When I build a walkway on the side of the road to take the children off the highway, that is a good reason to vote for Eugene Hamilton. When I remove asbestos from the Keon Primary School roof, that is a good reason to vote for Eugene Hamilton. When I put 24 computers in that school so that the children can get familiar with technology, that is a good reason to vote for Eugene Hamilton. And when I put a lab at the high school, technical drawing using AutoCAD, that is a good reason to vote for Eugene Hamilton. And when I put a 2-day clinic in the Connery Community Center so that people can benefit, that is a good reason to vote for Eugene Hamilton. I can go, you all know the history, you know. All that has been delivered in that constituency in 5 years is far more that was delivered in 20 years under the previous administration. And that is a good reason to vote again for Eugene Hamilton.
Cause Eugene, we love you so. Cause you keep doing the things you do. You take care
There is no comparison. 20 years under Labour cannot compare with 5 years under the Team Unity administration. And you know what is interesting in my constituency? They're gone back to Cedric Liebert. We rejected Cedric Liebert since 2010. They're gone back to Cedric Liebert. He's the one who is shaping policies for Drew. Liebert, St. Peter's done say already they don't want you. They bring you back. How can you want to go back? Our people don't like to go back, you know. We like to go straight forward, forge ahead. We don't like to go back. We want to go forward. Ever. Backward. Never. We have with us a team led by Dr. Harris. All of us have our leadership capabilities. And when we put our leadership skills together, we come up with the best things benefiting the people of this country. You know, when we got in government, the first prayer was about giving us wisdom. Wisdom to choose and make the right choices for our people. We took a leaf from Solomon when he came to power after his father. All he said, he don't want no money, he don't want a load of animals, he don't want a lot of land. All I ask for is wisdom. We ask for wisdom. And it is the wisdom that has been given to us by our God that we have used to shape the lives of people in St. Kitts and Nevis. Tuckman's theory of organizational development tells us you come together, you're formed. Then after being formed, you have all of the storming going on. And then after storming, you get that norming. And after norming, you get that performing. And we know that in the 5 years of Team Unity, we have been performing. And if you listen to all of the speakers who speak every night, you can tell that there is gel between all of us. There is unity among us. There is leadership among us. And we believe in the man who is taking us to the second term, Dr. Harris. Therefore, give us a second term. I come to you. The hands that I come to you with are those which are designed to work hard for you. I come to you, the people of constituency number 8, with a humble heart. And I ask for your support. I come to you and I say, one good term deserves another. I come to you and I say, you know I have been compassionate. You've seen the way we work. Our compassion has been shown in everything that we do. And it is that compassion which is going to guide us through the second term in government. So I bring to you my own humble self for a second term in government. And I ask for your full support. Turn out on June the 5th and vote for Eugene Hamilton.
'Cause Eugene, we love you so. 'Cause
And as I usually say, and you know what it is, you must always choose hope over despair. Always choose unity over division. Always choose inclusion over exclusion. Choose integrity over dishonesty. Choose servant leadership over dictatorship. Choose, as you do and will do on the 5th day of June, Team Unity over Douglas Labour.
And of course, that was Eugene Hamilton of the People's Action Movement and Team Unity. He spoke last night at a virtual Team Unity meeting. And some of the things he said there, he referred to too many talkers and most talkers doing nothing. He made reference to medical insurance benefits that he explained he had a hand in ensuring that a lot of people are getting that kind of insurance benefit at the moment. He also made reference to the opposition St. Lucia Labour Party suggesting, according to Mr. Hamilton, that they felt the elections were too early after they had been calling for it for quite a while. He mentioned as well, in passing, the injunction that is being heard in the court today, the Labour Party injunction. And he made reference to Dr. Denzel Douglas not being in the parliament anymore a few months ago, well, 1 or 2 months ago, actually, and that at least 2 of the other opposition MPs who were there, Conris Maynard and Marcella Lippard, they were offered to, between themselves, select a leader of the opposition. And according to Mr. Hamilton, they preferred to wait until Dr. Douglas returned. And he was saying, look, if they cannot even do that, then people shouldn't vote for them. Just a few of the things he said. He also mentioned the poverty alleviation program. Our guest is Chesley Hamilton. Chesley, just an initial quick comment, because we want to listen to Dr. Drew as well.
And this is the poorest prosecution that I've ever heard of anything. You know, it's very bad when you don't even have to come up with your own strategy or your own theory to defend something. You can use Eugene's words, his own argument, and just tell him, Eugene, use that same argument with you and your people, and you see why your argument doesn't make any sense or cannot carry the day. Let's take the one on leadership. If he says Conris and Marcella do not want to lead, well, hey, what happened to Sean Richards with the leader of the opposition when he had the opportunity to be leader of the opposition and he gave it to Mark Brantley? What happened with the opportunity when the Governor General called Sean Richards and said, you can be Prime Minister, and Sean Richards give it up? So therefore, if Sean Richards doesn't want to lead in those 2 cases, should anyone return him and Pam to office?
Okay.
I mean, if you use Eugene's own argument against Conris and Marcella with him and Sean Richards and Pam, that is game, set, match. So I don't even have to come up with my own argument to deal with that.
Okay, hold the rest, because we want to listen to Dr. Terence Drew now of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. He was speaking as well at a Labour Party virtual meeting last night after nomination.
Boy, we missed the big stage and the crowd, you know. But we're going to work with it. I just want to say a special good night to all who are here. And I read something recently and it said this: feeling gratitude and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it. Feeling gratitude and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it. And therefore, I want to take this opportunity to thank those who nominated me today. I want to thank Mrs. Cynthia Batt of Canada Estate, who has graced us with her presence here tonight as she delivered the prayer. Put your hands together for Miss Cynthia Batt. Mama Batt. I also want to say a special thank you to Mr. Africa Mills. He was the other person who nominated me. He represented the young people in the constituency and throughout the country. And I'm encouraging young people really to get involved in the political process and not to just accept what is done, but they can have a voice and they must express their voices. And to all the supporters, to all of you who came out in your numbers and walked with me from the constituency office all the way up to the community center. When I saw you in your red and your Dr. Drew's masks, I want to say that that gave me a great feeling, a feeling of victory. And you have supported me today and you continue to support me. And I want to ask you to take it all the way to June 5th when we finally deliver constituency number 8. Constituency number 8 was promised 17 things by the representative. Can you imagine that? 17 things. And no one expects anyone to deliver sometimes 100% of the things they say. But you expect them to try to deliver 100% of the things they say. But can you imagine a representative who did not deliver one? I mean, I read them out night after night after night. And some persons are starting to believe that it may not be true. But I'm happy that somebody from the constituency was able to post it online so people can read it for themselves. Not one out of the 17 has Eugene Hamilton delivered to the people of constituency number 8. And that is why we call him the sleeping candidate. But in addition to that, he is the senior minister of health, and during COVID-19, you never saw him once speaking to the nation about their situation as far as health is concerned. So how can you trust a representative like that? And that is why the people in constituency number 8, we are saying that we need change. We need a difference. We need representation in constituency number 8. And that is why the people now are shifting towards the Dr. Drew's campaign. In Keyon, people are joining the campaign in large numbers. I hear them talking some funniness that Dr. Drew wasn't walking the street. Tell them I never stopped walking the street yet. Tell them I never lost the connection with the people. As a matter of fact, I have strengthened the connection with the people of constituency number 8. And so when I go to Half Moon and I look and see how the people of Half Moon were treated by Eugene Hamilton and Timothy Harris, it is a disgrace that they now want to have a Zoom meeting with the people of Half Moon telling them, coming soon. Last election, coming soon. Midterm, coming soon. End of term, coming soon. Overtime, still coming soon. So how can the people of Half Moon really trust Timothy Harris and Eugene Hamilton? Coming soon. And guess what? The end to Timothy Harris and Eugene Hamilton, really coming soon. Can you imagine I went to Half Moon with Comrade Jeffrey. We drove around Half Moon with the president of the Homeowners Association. I never thought I would see trees going in the middle of roads. Big tree, you know? I'm telling you, right away I call somebody and say, what type of thing is this? That is what the people of Half Moon really suffered. The people of Keyon, they had their land sold when they were promised that there would be land for debt swap reversal. Instead, the land was sold to foreigners. And up to now, they're still fooling the people of Keyon. The people of Keys had their playfield stopped, and not one housing development was done in Keys or Canada. Totally abandoned. You go to Connery, and nothing was done for the community of Connery. That is shocking. Connery is a community that stuck with Eugene Hamilton even when he was in opposition. And to see that he now comes to power, not a road in Connery. The housing that they started there, they can't finish up to now. Promised them a playfield, can't finish up to now. Promised them a health center, nothing start yet. All these things that were promised to the people of Connery are nothing delivered. And that is why the people of Connery are saying they cannot continue with Eugene Hamilton. And you know, in St. Peter's, the only place in St. Kitts Nevis where the main road was not touched is in St. Peter's. Totally neglected. The neglect in the constituency is so stark that people can't believe when I speak about it. And that is why I want to say to the people of St. Peter's, Connery, Keys, Keyon, Canada, Kitsodat, Half Moon Bay, Cedar Grove, Otleys, that life, development, advancement would once again come to constituency number 8. And as I wrap it up tonight, I want to ask the people of constituency number 8 to join our campaign, to vote for Dr. Drew. Things will change in number 8. You have come to know me, I have come to know you, and we have built a good relationship. So on June 5th, I'm asking you to go out and vote Dr. Drew, and let's seal it and end the sleepy minister and get progress in constituency number 8.
And that was, of course, Dr. Terence Drew, who is the Labour Party candidate in constituency number 8. He made reference in his address to promises, he said, were made by Mr. Hamilton, 17 separate things that he says the minister and parliamentary representative failed to deliver as part of the Team Unity administration. He also referred to Mr. Hamilton as a sleeping candidate. And he says, as health minister, Mr. Hamilton did not speak to the nation on the COVID-19 health matter. And he criticized, of course, both Mr. Hamilton and the government, saying they should have done a lot more for the constituency in the area of roads, housing, and other such matters. Quick comment from you on Terence Drew's address.
The word charisma come to me, and you could hear the charisma coming through. Where Eugene wait until the end to speak to the issue of thanking and gratitude, he came first with it. Drew came up front with it. Excuse me. And you could hear the charisma coming through. And charisma, i.e. sex appeal, is important in campaign and election. He's young, he's dynamic, he's intelligent, he's educated, and he speaks well, and you're hearing it. And for those who want to criticize people because they are intelligent or qualified or went away so that they can come back, whether as social scientists or whatever, it is all part of the universal discourse. I don't criticize anyone for being successful. You know, I tend to say so, though, that success is a poor teacher, because when you are successful, you tend not to try to improve, or you feel perhaps that you're correct or right, and you begin to believe in your own self and conceit and worth. But I am simply saying you cannot criticize people for improving themselves and holding out yourself as someone who wants to improve people's life. So I just find that is a double standard that we should not give any credence to.
Before you continue, and we will continue that discussion as well, we will open the lines as well.
Yeah.
It is clear that Terence Drew is one of your favorites, so it's no surprise that you're giving him glowing references. That doesn't mean it's necessarily wrong.
Terence Drew has earned.
That's not necessarily.
Terence Drew has earned for in terms of what he's saying. Mm-hmm. I am not in any which way. Let me first say, Eugene Hamilton is my cousin, first cousin. His dad and my mother are brother and sisters. So let's get that clear. I have also a first cousin by father's side in cabinet, which is Lindsay Fitzpatrick Grant. The Prime Minister's press secretary is my sister. So it is not a matter of I just simply saying, well, this is that. And so I would defend any one of them if someone
your point is respected.
If anyone wrongly think. But you asked me to comment on two speeches.
Mm-hmm. And we will do more of that.
And that is
just hold on a minute.
That is the analysis that I'm bringing to it. It is not based on the fact that I in some way am biased towards Dr. Drew.
Okay, we will continue. We just want to take a few messages and we'll resume. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We can continue.
This question about
before you continue, Chesley, I wanted you to look at both of them in terms of their style of campaigning. Can you compare and contrast between Hamilton and Drew?
Well, that's what I attempted to do when I spoke to charisma, that the charisma in Drew is coming through, whereas it is not in terms of Eugene. Eugene is the incumbent, yet he's on the defensive, and I'm basically saying that shouldn't be the case. Eugene made an argument that he has done certain things like lighting the field, fixing the roof, putting computers, and the roof program, none of which is in his ministry, all of which are other ministers doing things elsewhere. And Drew has gone straight to the point and said, you promised us 17 things for this constituency, none of which you have delivered. And that sort of focus and specifics are relevant in terms of performance. So therefore, you could say, well, Sean performed by putting sporting and lighting in the field, or the school and the school roof, or the Minister of Infrastructure, or something like that. The health program or the Sustainable Development Program gave that in order the Prime Minister's. You could say, well, oh, Eugene will say, well, I argued for those for my area, but you can't be simply saying that when it comes to the universal things, I argue for those, but I could argue for nothing specifically that I promised people in my manifesto, and I delivered nothing for my constituency on that.
It is clear, though. It is clear.
It will be hard. It will be hard for you to sell that argument.
It is clear that Terence Drew is charismatic.
Yes.
Do people underrate Eugene Hamilton, though, because he is quiet and he
no,
maybe is not
Eugene will tell you.
not as
Eugene
outgoing.
will tell you, and especially when he gets angry. When Eugene gets angry, you hear the certain things coming out of him. And that is where he is at this point in time. So when you hear him start to speak about the fact that every civil servant has insurance because of him, and that is what he did in terms of impacting people's life, I will counter that. Chesley Hamilton will counter that and say, but Eugene, you can't take the good and not the bad. You have to bring BICO and all the thousands of policyholders who lost money because of your stewardship of BICO. So therefore, when it comes to insurance, then you're going to come and say, oh, 5 short years better than 20 short years. But then you're failing to recognize that your leader was with Denzel Douglas for 90% of that time, 18 of the 20 years. So your arguments just aren't carrying the day. So wheel and come again.
What about Drew? Drew has positive points. He may have flaws as well.
Yes. The issue is, okay, where Eugene Hamilton ran against Cedric 3 times and won on a third occasion.
Cedric Liburd.
Yeah, Cedric Liburd. He is simply saying, you don't go back because to Denzel Douglas. Denzel Douglas has lost once. So all of his arguments cannot carry the day. That is all I'm basically. I'm using Eugene's arguments and showing him when you apply the facts to his theory, you get a conclusion that is not consistent.
But I need you to look at
inconsistency is the problem.
I need you to look at Dr. Drew's positives and his possible flaws as well.
Well, the fact is that Dr. Drew is not elected. He was never elected.
He's a candidate, though.
He's a candidate who has come close the first time around. He is coming a second time and simply saying to you, he wants to be the leader. He wants to be the candidate. He has been persistent. He has been consistent. Of all the candidates who lost, he has moved from just an ordinary candidate to be chairman of the party. You understand? He has been on another radio station on Wednesday consistently bringing the message. He's speaking out on health. He is working. He's been a part of the doctors, the medical association and things like that. So he has stayed active and continued to show that he is community-minded and he wants to continue in that role. And therefore, it's performance that counts and matters. So he needs an opportunity.
So how much of a contender is he?
No. He's a very good contender because, listen, as a young man who was trained both in Cuba, a socialist country, and then went on to do his advanced internal medicine in the United States, in the capitalist system. So he has balance. He has what you call equipoise. He has what you call, the necessary synergies, the necessary equipoise and level balance in order to make a good decision maker. Because he not only knows the socialist system and has excelled there, but he then went on in the capitalist system and has excelled there as well. And he brings all of those synergies to bear upon the leadership that he wants to put forward. So you will take that from Eugene Hamilton and say, well, Eugene Hamilton had done fairly well in insurance and rise to the top of insurance in St. Kitts. But as I said to you, Eugene can't take the good without taking the bad and the failure of BICO as well.
Well, one of the things he tried to do, and I think that is still ongoing, is a national health insurance scheme. It is not yet there completely, but surely you can give him some credit for doing that.
No, you had 5 years. You said you would deliver it within the first. Your manifesto said within the first year. If memory serves me right, that you will bring it. You were able. You had 5 years at it, and you failed miserable. And you are the expert. You are the expert, and you failed to bring it in 5 years. This is my problem when you talk about failure within your competencies. You are the Minister of Health, yet you have an appointed person. You are elected. And our independence, Mr. Richards, is about a march that the appointed must never have more power than the elected. That is what happened since 1932, with the, coming forward with the Labour Party, the Labour movement, the Buckley's riots, coming forward all the way. We did not even have universal suffrage. We had to fight for that. In 1952, when we got that, because you had to have property to vote. Coming forward to colonialism, where the governor and the appointments out of England and the metropolis used to carry the day in terms of who became the Attorney General, and back then the Attorney General was both the DPP and the Solicitor General all mixed up in one. So therefore, they had real power. And then the Minister of Finance was appointed by the governor. So the executive, the administrative executive had the real power in the country. Robert Bradshaw, Paul Southwell, your fellow Dominican, Limo Bryant, Joseph France, and Sebastian and these guys fought so that no way and never again should the appointed have more power than the elected. Right now, it is the appointed that is running the country.
And let me interject.
Attorney General, junior
on
minister, senator, and the prime minister, because Parliament is dissolved. So all your elected seats are vacant, and therefore the appointed has all the power, while you and your fundamental rights are suspended under Chapter 2 of the Constitution.
Well, let me interject a bit on that. In the case of coming back to Minister Hamilton,
yes,
he was the country's health minister.
Mm-hmm.
Yet you had a junior minister running things, and I think a lot of people were askance about that. Because is it because he was given too many portfolios? He had agriculture to contend with and a few others. Should the portfolios have been divided more evenly? Was that the issue?
No, the issue was there was a diabolical plan to undermine the PAM ministers. And that's why the senator is in that constituency. The prime minister took all the ministries that has anything to do with money, sustainable development. He took land and gave Eugene agriculture. He took land and gave him housing. Okay? The prime minister took all the finance. He took sustainable. He did the CI program, the Citizenship for Investment program. He gives his friend in constituency number 1 that we all know runs under PAM, but is more PLP than PAM. Infrastructure, public works, and those sort of things. He gave Sean Ministry of Education. When Sean, you heard from Dwyer, went and asked for Ministry of Finance, and you know what happened there. So therefore,
well, let me hear you. Let me hear you clearly.
Yeah.
Are you suggesting that the party in the coalition that has the most seats, 4 seats, elected seats, they have been shortchanged? And is that just speculation on your part, or do you have evidence to back it?
This is not speculation on my part, but there is a plan. There is a plan that was conceived and executed in order so to do. That is why the PLP has branches in every one of the 8 seats in St. Kitts. The idea is that if they would lose and Timothy Harris remains standing, that is why Timothy Harris wanted to run in Keon, in the constituency where Eugene is from, so that he could remain standing if they were to lose, so that PLP will be the representative in Parliament and therefore the alternative to the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party.
But
it is a plan to undermine PAM and the ascendancy of the PLP.
Can you fault the PLP for having offices in all constituencies. They're a growing party. They expect to expand. Yes,
No,
they're part,
you-
yes, they're
no,
part
no,
of a
no,
coalition
no,
at the
no,
moment.
No. You
But
can't.
they're a political
you can't have
party
it both
in their
ways.
own
you
right.
cannot expect my machinery to form the foundation upon which you're running, and you keep on undermining the same foundation. You can't do it.
But they're part of a coalition.
Well, then support that. Just like Pam in constituency 7 supports him. You're not seeing Pam trying, other than when they have the caucus, calling anybody from they're not trying to undermine Timothy in constituency number 7. They're not trying to undermine Aquila in constituency number 3. They are working with them. They are making sure that their team forms the election operation and the canvassing operation and the executive that informs those decisions. Not that you're working against them because you want your ascendancy and their descendancy. It can't happen. They can't coexist.
So you're suggesting the PLP is trying to undermine the others. Where's the evidence to back that up?
Where is the evidence to back it up?
Yep.
The evidence is that what is happening now, rather than Pam be running 6, how many are they running?
It's 4, isn't it 4, I think? Not the same 4 they had before?
No. Pam ran a candidate in 6 the last time.
Oh, in 6, okay, I get you.
Okay, 6 seats, and they also ran as candidate in constituency number 6. Today, the PLP is there. So, I mean, people say it's 4-4 now, but really,
But one would
technically,
assume, one would assume that is an arrangement the coalition did. They must have done that together.
I am saying again, okay, if you wanted something done in constituency number 2, you went to the PLP point person as opposed to Jonel Powell. Okay? Even Jonel was sending you to the PLP point person. All right? If you wanted something done down in constituency 4, down in Lindsey Grant, you wanted something to do with the roofing program, you went to the PLP person. Not to Lindsey's appointed person.
But why is that the PLP's fault as opposed to Pam's fault?
Because the prime ministers have all the purse strings. Has the purse string. He has all the revenue. He has all this thing to give out the goodies and the cookies, and therefore he keeps undermining his own colleagues in cabinet.
So the 4 seats Pam have, they cannot leverage that apparently? Is that what you're saying?
How are you going to leverage it when you don't even caucus? How are you going to do that when you don't even caucus? They have caucus less than a handful of times, if they have.
As a coalition?
As 4 representatives in Parliament. They go to cabinet with no strategy. And I'm going to tell you this, it's the Prime Minister who told me that. In a meeting with the Prime Minister at Jakarta, he told me that.
But if PLP with 1 seat in Parliament, in a coalition, can be so powerful, I would not be blaming the Prime Minister. I would be blaming Pam, right? Who are not leveraging the seats that they have. Come on.
And you want me to disagree with you?
You can agree or disagree.
I am not disagreeing with you.
I'm just pointing out something.
I am not disagreeing with you because Pam is coming back to the people and saying, listen to me, this is the arrangement that we had and this is the arrangement we are going to continue. And I feel that they have to be out of their mind to ask their supporters to support that level of abuse.
But you have to be blamed somewhat as well as a former chairman of the People's Action Movement.
As my brother would say. I jumped ship when it was in the port, I didn't wait until it reached out in deep waters because I can't swim.
Well, maybe that's why it's in the position you're referring to today.
No. Listen to me. I only give people advice. I don't make decisions for them. All right? And if I give you advice, I respect you to make your own decision. But you must bear the consequences of your decision. And let me tell you decisions, okay? When they wanted Sean to sign for Timothy Harris to be leader, my advice was him, the leader is supposed to come from the elected representatives, not a decision that you make now in opposition it's supposed to be made after you know who is elected, and the elected members are supposed to decide among them who is first among equals. Okay? So you had Sam Conda, who is not elected, making a decision as to who will be prime minister, and you have Lindsey Grant, who is now elected, had no say in the matter. Okay? I am just simply telling you, I said to them, that is wrong. A matter of fact, that agreement is illegal. Okay? That is why the Governor General was correct when he called Sean Richards, in his deliberate judgment, had 4 seats to form the government. And then Sean went and said, no, I supported Timothy Harris. Okay? That is what is correct. But people were vexed with me because they felt that I had too much influence. I didn't have any influence on Sean. Sean was the one who was holding out. The day Sean signed that document, I am told, and I do believe, Sean said, this man, what Denzel Douglas was telling us about this man, he's 10 times worse. But I asked him to sign, I can sign the document. None of you come back and talk to me about it. And they have all reached back and I have been apologizing to Sean Richards about the very man. But they're in the same team still. Okay? And, you know, if you think I am wrong, go and ask people like Sandra Quealy Atherton if that is not what was communicated to her when Sean signed the document. Okay? I wasn't there. I didn't tell Sean whether to sign or not to sign. I gave him advice. He decided what decision he's going to make. I don't make decisions for people. I never do. Okay? I always say, this is my advice. You make the decision, but you got to live with your decision.
But Team Unity today looks strong. It looks like the coalition is working well, despite critics saying otherwise.
Looks to you, or you're being facetious and devil's
advocate? You
advocate?
That's not the case? Well, I can be devil's advocate on the program.
Okay, well,
I can be devil's advocate.
Well, if you are telling me that, you see the attacks on Mark Brantley from these fake profiles and nobody come to the defense of Mark Brantley? You see them?
I have seen some of them, yes.
Really? And you think that all is well and harmonious?
Well, in any family, you will have issues, you will have problems. It depends on the level of the problem.
Move to the front of the class. Every family has quarrels, but they have them in public like that? Every family?
I think they have more quarrels in private than in public, though.
Well, if they have more in public and you're seeing so much in public, then then trust me, it is not that we are having cracks. These are fault lines, okay? And these fault lines are going to come full force. Yeah? No amount of campaign, no amount of facade could cover them up, okay? There are serious cracks. I mean, people come in and tell me, I don't think this is going to be in the cabinet next time, and I don't think this is going to happen, and so on. So vote for us still. I mean...
But you have a Team Unity which is facing the Labour Party, which they were able to beat the last time around.
Certainly, because there was a swing from Labour to Unity, okay? You can have the defection of Sam and Timothy from Labour and survive, not even have a 3-point swing.
To what extent?
So now you don't have
Well, that's it. To what extent has the equation turned 5 years later?
All the polling will tell you cannot survive a swing from Unity of Sam Conda, Dwyer Astafan, Douglas Watley, Clecton Phillip, Terry Adams, Chesley Hamilton, and keep going. And there is no swing?
But if that is the case...
None?
If that is the case, but the average voter still believes in Team Unity.
I have heard people who talk about, and I heard Eugene with it, it's about money. It's about money and this and so on. Really? It's about money? Well, is it, since it's about money, let us talk about the peace program. Because there's some people who feel, we don't have peace in the country, so therefore and we didn't have peace before. Well, if it's about money, why are you then paying people for the peace? I was the one who said inside here, in Win FM studio, tell me what percentage of your GDP you want to pay in order to have peace. But I said it in the context of having a peace and reconciliation commission where you can go to Parliament, pass a resolution to forgive and to pay people to put them and give them a second chance. Disinfect their record, give them opportunity, pay them going forward. But you could not leave out. You can't leave out the victims. So I lost my son. Where is my windfall? I have lost my son or my daughter during this time. Where is my windfall for the loss during the civil war? And I said during the civil war, because if 500 young people die during this time, that is at least 1% of our population. If 1% of the United States population dies, that's somewhere in the region of 3 to 4 million people.
I take the point you're making, but
Okay.
the government insists in saying it hasn't been paying gangsters, it's not paying for peace. It says it's paying.
No, it has come full circle
it's
during this
paying
campaign.
it's
They
paying
have
people to
come
work.
full circle in this campaign
They're putting
and said
people at work and
it is worth
paying them for the work.
peace. They have come full circle now and they are saying it. And they're telling people now to vote because it will stop. That I call extortion, that I call blackmail. I am simply saying there is a need to make this program legitimate by going into Parliament and having a resolution. I was the one who said inside here, you cannot have peace with McMullen from Nevis and Dwyer Astafan. You cannot have peace unless you talk to the people in 1840. I said it. You have to talk to the young men. The young men, when they tried an initiative on their own, they were locked up at the Marriott. And I could call them by name because I am the one who have been there with them from Ball One. My first case in this country was representing one Denzel Parrow Williams, Omax Bay, Coy Jeffords, and others in a murder. I continue to represent them without being paid.
You have been making the parliamentary argument for a while. We will pick that up when we come back after the news because we have to break now for the headline news.
You found the sound. 98.9 Win FM.
We now bring you the Win FM Headline News. The Win FM Headline News is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, KDP Enterprises, The Grange, Carib Brewery, CNC Trading.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Dealing well with a low reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business, property, we got you covered. Motor or personal, whatever it is, we got you covered. 130 years in this business, we got you covered. For all your insurance needs, visit or call us at 465-2631 or 469-5303. DLE Walwyn, people you can trust.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. We get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
Without limits, happy and free. The skin you're in with no apology. The one to seize the day. Grab an LLB. Live, love, be. With LLB. Live, love, be. Live, love, be. Be who you know you can be. Grab an LLB. Live, love, be. Angostura, lemon, lime, and bitters. Live, love, be.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic, and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
The High Court Thursday morning was scheduled to hear arguments in the constitutional claim filed May 22nd and May 27th, seeking an injunction against the government-imposed state of emergency and access to the state-controlled ZIZ broadcasting. The SKNLP argues that the state of emergency resolutions of April 18th and 13th were unconstitutional, and COVID-19 emergency regulations published by the government on May 8th are unlawful, disproportionately restrictive, and discriminatory against the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party and its supporters. The party said, quote, all current and future measures, including closed borders and mandatory quarantine, to protect public health and safety or prevent a second wave of COVID-19 can be effectively managed under the Public Health Act. Over the last 9 days since the announcement of the elections, despite the emergency regulations being in place, members of the government and their supporters have been gathering in large numbers for political meetings, both indoor and outdoor meetings, while the police have been directed by their superiors to suppress similar opposition activity. Attorney General Vincent Byron published a press release late Wednesday stating that the government did not agree with the claims made by the SKNLP and would vigorously defend them. The AG stated that the state of emergency was instituted after confirmation of the first cases of COVID-19 and were instituted on advice of medical experts to combat the spread of the virus. He said, quote, these regulations were put in place on the advice of medical experts on the grounds that the measures outlined therein be required in the interest of public order and public health to combat COVID-19 in the Federation. These measures apply equally to everyone in the Federation of St. Christopher and Nevis. Daily briefings have been conducted by the COVID-19 Task Force. These briefings have been presented in an unbiased and unprofessional manner and have demonstrated the effectiveness outlined in the emergency regulations. The response of the COVID-19 Task Force has been measured and has resulted in our country having, at this time, no hospitalization or death from the coronavirus and no known active coronavirus cases, the Attorney General said. Meanwhile, on Wednesday, nomination day, May 27th, ZIZ Broadcasting announced that equal broadcasting time will be provided to the 5 registered political parties and any nominated independent candidate ahead of the June 5th general elections. ZIZ said it would allocate 8 hours of paid programming to each registered political party and nominated candidate, and political ads for all parties would be aired for the first time in the organization's history. Several months after 2 units of the housing complex on Wellington Road were completed, it has not been opened and may still need additional work. The US $8 million project, which was part funded by the Venezuelan government, saw the residents being relocated so that work on the complex can be completed. Media reports pointed to September and October 2019 as being the completion period for Phase 1 of the 3-phase project. Under Phase 1, 24 apartments were expected to be completed and distributed by October 2019, according to Minister of Public Infrastructure Ian Liburd. The minister was quoted by media reports as saying, "We anticipate that the first 2 units, comprising of some 12 apartments, will be completed just before Independence in September this year. Then we will complete the other 2 in October. So by the end of October, we should have at least 4 units comprising 24 apartments. The 24 apartments will be allocated by September." Shortly after his nomination on Wednesday, the minister was asked for an update on the project by WinFM.
Well, when I see them close, quite frankly, my heart hurts because we have completed some 24 units. And there's some difficulty. I don't know. It has not been explained to me fully. The chairman of the board of directors, Valentine Lindsay. I am aware that the cabinet has approved the signing of the agreement between the funding agencies. It was funded 50% by the JVC, the joint venture company, and that's a grant funding of some $4 million. And the loan agreement that the NEC should have signed already has not been signed for that $4 million. So you would be aware that we've had to, in terms to facilitate the relocation of those residents in the area, we built those 12 units, condo-style units, just behind the bus terminal there in Ponds Extension. We are going to build another one so we can get those on the East Street, so on the West Street section to be relocated. But that project really should have been, at least that allocation of the 24 units should have been already done by the NHC.
Minister Liebert was asked about several deficiencies that were highlighted by citizens, including the fact that there were no fire escapes.
Concerns raised by you-know-whom, and I don't think I would want to respond to that to give credence to what that man has said. But I am aware that the homes were approved by the Development Control and Planning Board, and I don't know of any issue that has transgressed the development and control regulations.
Concerned Citizens Movement candidate for Constituency 10, Eric Evelyn, is arguing that the upcoming general elections will be fair despite the state of emergency, which many are challenging.
The Constitution demands that an election has to be held. Whether it's in a state of emergency or not, an election has to be held. The fact is, if the election was not called, they would have been criticizing it anyway. So you call it, they will criticize. If you don't call it, they will criticize. I think that is a party that does not know what they want. That's a party that's in disarray, and the elections are being called in the state of emergency. As I said, the Constitution demands that an election be called, and the election is being called, and I believe the elections will be free and fair.
Meanwhile, he's expressing optimism that the Nevis 10 seat will remain one of the blue seats coming out of the federal elections on June 5th.
I'm always confident that seat will remain blue, undoubtedly. I have been out in the community. I've been in touch with the people. Even before I got into politics, I'm no stranger to anyone. I am known in the community. The community knows me. I know the people. And I am running on a track record in community service before I got into government. I'm running on a track record of 32 unblemished years as a civil servant. And I'm running on a track record of just a little over 2 years in politics. And the achievements that have come as a result of me, I'm running on a track record. And so the experience will always be there. I will bring it home, and I will bring it home handsomely.
Evelyn will be coming up against a younger, more youthful candidate, and he notes that it will not stop him from romping to victory in the Nevis 10 seat.
He is young, but he's not known in the community. I am older than him, yes, but I'm in touch with all. I'm in touch with the young. I'm in touch with the seniors. I'm in touch with the in-between, unlike him. And so I'm in touch with everyone. And so I can tell you that the young, the seniors, and the in-between, they will be voting for me in overwhelming numbers. As I said, you can compare both of us in terms of our track record. I don't think that my opponent can name not even one thing, and I'm going to say it again, not even one thing that he has done in the community with regards to impacting anyone, whether young or old. I have been involved with the young people. I have been the president of the Empire Sports Club for over 20 years. Because of my initiative, we've had a Voice Together for Change program that impacted the young men in my community. As I said, I'm the president of the Empire Sports Club for over 20 years. I impact everyone from that club. I'm in touch with the seniors. We have a program with the seniors for over 10 years now. And so I'm in touch with every facet. He is not in touch with anyone, and that is why I will win, and I will win convincingly.
In the federal elections, Mr. Evelyn will be challenged by Nevis Reformation Party's Bjorn Hanley.
This is Eyewitness News. Our team coverage of the 2020-2021 budget presentation continues with the opposition. The official opposition, Progressive Liberal Party, members of which say the presentation left much to be desired, insisting government's fiscal roadmap and record-breaking borrowing will put the country back for years. Our Janelle Longley, she is live tonight from the Senate steps where opposition members held a press conference earlier today. Janelle?
Good evening, Candino. That's right. The Progressive Liberal Party's Deputy Leader Chester Cooper, who also serves as the Shadow Minister of Finance, calling today's budget presentation the worst in the country's history. Now, as the government mentioned earlier today in the House, we've had to deal with the effects of Hurricane Dorian back in September 2019 and now the COVID-19 pandemic. However, Cooper is on the record tonight in saying the government's mistakes started way before these events.
The precarious financial situation we find ourselves in today has less to do with the hurricane and COVID-19. However, it represents the cumulative impact of a series of bad fiscal decisions over the past 3 budget cycles. This out-of-touch administration gloats about having the courage to cancel breakfast and lunch at the House of Assembly after arrogantly raising the food budget last year. They gloat about reducing ministers' travel, just as they recently excessively increased it.
And those decisions continue with a history of poor borrowing.
Instead of borrowing to pay bills that could have been amortized, they could have borrowed to invest in agriculture and fisheries. Borrowing from the owner of a dilapidated hotel that every right-thinking Bahamian begged them not to do, when they could have invested more deeply in technological advancements. Borrowing to build plants at BPL that are still not fully operational, when they should have been investing in solar, wind, and wave technology. We warned the government to leave some borrowing headroom and a rainy day fund for the days like this. But they did not. Hence, another downgrade of our sovereign credit rating. And now we find ourselves in the embrace of the IMF.
Cooper is referring to government's most recent borrowing activity, a $252 million loan from the International Monetary Fund, expected to assist in the ongoing coronavirus response and other budgetary operations, an acronym we'll be hearing for some time.
So now when you hear IMF, I want you to remember that IMF stands for It's Minist's Fault.
But there's more blame to go around, Cooper says.
The self-proclaimed master of deficit management, the Minister of Finance himself, has now brought us the biggest deficit and debt level in the history of our country.
Now, Candino, despite these criticisms, the Progressive Liberal Party say they are prepared to give right where right is due. Now, they are commending government for the announcement of beefing up the national health insurance benefits and the special attention that is going to be paid to small business development. However, when it comes to the latter, the Progressive Liberal Party is of the view, had government started paying more attention to small businesses before, they might have been able to assist in slicing off a bit of the deficit that we have accumulated, especially in the last few months thanks to the pandemic. Reporting live from outside of the Senate here on Parliament Square, I'm Janelle Longley, and back to you in studio, Candino.
Following Wednesday's nominations, Supervisor of Elections Elvin Bailey is expected to confirm the number of nominations, who they are, and which party they represent. But here is the list of all those who had indicated they were throwing their hats in the ring. In St. Kitts, constituency number 1, PAM candidate Ian Liburd and the Labour Party's Jeffrey Hanley. Constituency 2, Labour Party's Marcella Liburd and PAM's Jonald Powell. Constituency number 3, Conris Maynard of the Labour Party and PLP's Akila Byron Nisbet. Constituency 4, PAM's Lindsay Grant, who is being challenged by Labour candidate Steve Rensford and Independent Jason Thomas. That's the only constituency where the votes could be split 3 ways. Constituency number 5, PAM's Sean Richards and Labour's Kenny Douglas. Constituency number 6, Labour's Denzel Douglas versus PLP's Kevin Nanky Williams. Constituency 7, PLP's Dr. Timothy Harris versus Labour's Leon Natter Nelson. And Constituency number 8, PAM's Eugene Hamilton and Labour's Dr. Terence Drew. In Nevis, Constituency 9, CCM's Mark Brantley being opposed by NRP's Kevin Daly. In Constituency number 10, Eric Evelyn of the CCM and Beyond Hanley, NRP. And Constituency 11, Alexis Jeffers, CCM, and the NRP's Patrice Nisbet. PAM, CCM, and PLP candidates are running under the banner of the Team Unity Coalition. Although there is no formal alliance this time between the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party and the Nevis Reformation Party, the pundits are suggesting that they may be collaborating unofficially.
This is Al Jazeera.
So then, violent protests have rocked the U.S. city of Minneapolis for the second straight night after the death of a black man in police custody. Multiple fires were reported, several businesses were looted. Large crowds have also been out on the streets in Los Angeles demanding justice for George Floyd. Victoria Gatenby has this report.
Anger turned to violence in Minneapolis on Wednesday night. What started out as a protest against the death of an unarmed black man in police custody culminated in firefighters battling to contain multiple blazes across the city. Shops were looted as thieves took advantage of the chaos. The violence and deliberate damage to property by some has to some extent shifted attention away from peaceful protesters demanding justice. Earlier, they surrounded the police precinct where the 4 officers involved in the case were based. In some areas, police marched on demonstrators, firing rubber-coated steel bullets and tear gas.
You sure you just want to stay here? I can't see.
On the west coast of America, thousands of kilometers from where George Floyd died, anger over the latest incident of a confrontation between a white police officer and a black man captured on video brought hundreds of protesters onto the streets of Los Angeles. George Floyd was arrested after being accused of forgery. Police say he'd been resisting arrest, but in this newly released surveillance video taken before Floyd was forced to the ground, he's shown handcuffed and apparently cooperative.
This was not an isolated incident, but a part of an ingrained systemic cycle of injustice that still exists in this country. It cuts at the very heart of our sacred beliefs that all Americans are equal in rights and in dignity.
The 4 officers on the scene were fired on Tuesday, but Floyd's family says that's not enough.
I would like for those officers to be charged with murder, because that's exactly what they did. They murdered my brother.
The mayor for Minneapolis joined in the demand for criminal charges, but it could be months before it's clear whether they'll be filed. Until then, protesters say they'll stay on the streets to insist that no other unarmed African American in the US is killed by the police. Victoria Gatenby, Al Jazeera.
Well, let's go live to our correspondent, John Hendren, who's in Chicago. And John, this is a thing, isn't it? Despite the sacking of the 4 officers involved, the protests seem to be getting bigger.
That's right. Those protesters are not satisfied, and those protests have really evolved into all-out riots. Whole stores were looted completely. Whole blocks have been set on fire. I've just been looking at some newer video in which entire blocks are engulfed in flames. And as protesters came near to the police precinct where they did some damage, police fired back tear gas and rubber bullets at the crowd. That's the second day in a row, second night they have done that. And whole buildings are simply just gone now after having been burned down, just smoldering embers. And sadly, in the middle of protests over one tragedy, another tragedy has occurred. One man was found shot to death there at the scene. It's not clear exactly what happened. One theory police say they have is that the owner of a store was trying to protect that store. But perhaps the most important development of the day is that the city is asking for help from the military troops of the National Guard. That's a rare instance, and when it happens, those troops come in large numbers, and their job is to secure block by block, because police really have lost control of that city, and part of that is the lack of faith that people in Minnesota have, at least among these protesters, for the police department, Nick.
Yeah, and it's hard to ignore the central frustration here that nothing ever seems to change.
That is absolutely the case. I mean, the protesters did get something they wanted. Those police officers were fired. But what many of them are asking for now, including the sister of George Floyd, who was killed in that incident, is murder charges against that police officer. People have scrawled murderer on his driveway. And the mayor was asked whether he believed that murder charges were appropriate. And he said he believed that it was indeed murder. But he's not the one who gets to prefer charges. That happens with the district attorney taking that action, and it's not clear that that will happen. Usually there's an investigation, and that investigation can take weeks or even months.
John, thanks very much for that. John Hendren there in Chicago.
This is the Carib Update News Service. I am Wendy Chateau reporting. Suriname's main opposition predicts victory following Monday's vote. This is the big story we're tracking this hour for Wednesday, May 27, 2020. Details to this and more straight ahead. Now for the details. Suriname's main opposition leader, Chan Santoki, on Tuesday predicted victory for his Progressive Reform Party, the VHP, in the country's elections after 46% of the votes had been counted. Early unofficial results in the tiny South American country showed that President Desi Bouterse, who was recently convicted of murder, could be ousted from office. "We will become the largest party in Suriname," said Santoki, as supporters danced, sang, and hailed their leader as the next president as they watched results trickle in on a large television screen at party headquarters. The VHP dropped previous alliances to run in Monday's election on its own. Bouterse, 74, a former military dictator turned politician, has dominated the country for 4 decades, but polls had forecast his National Democratic Party, the NDP, was likely to lose its majority in the 51-member parliament, which elects the president. The NDP made no comment to the media early Tuesday. The president of the Haitian Football Federation, Yves Gilles Bart, has been suspended from his post for 90 days. The governing body of world football, FIFA, took the step after allegations emerged that he coerced teenaged female players into having sex with him. He allegedly threatened the girls with losing their spot at the National Training Center if they did not comply. Jean Bart categorically denies the claims. Police are investigating the allegations. FIFA said the suspension would come into force immediately and apply to all football-related activities at both national and international level. Jean Bart is 73, has been in charge of Haiti's Football Federation for the past 2 decades. The incidents under investigation are alleged to have taken place in the past 5 years. There will be some form of classroom tutoring in Grenadian schools from June. Minister of Education Emmeline Pear says Form 5 secondary school students preparing for external examinations are now being called out. She said the Grenada cabinet approved students there sitting the external CXC examinations in July. The lead-up will help the students prepare. But the Grenada...
That was the Win FM Headline News, brought to you by KDP Enterprises, Caribbean Alliance, Carib Brewery, CNC Trading, The Grange.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic, and residential care for older adults. It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020, fax 466-8221, or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Without limits, happy and free. The skin you're in with no apology. The one to seize the day. Grab an LLB. Live, love, be. With LLB. Live, love, be. Live, love, be. Be who you know you can be. Grab an LLB. Live, love, be. Angostura, lemon, lime, and bitters. Live, love, be.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. We get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Dealing well with a low reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business, property, we got you covered. Motor or personal, whatever it is, we got you covered. 130 years in this business, we've got you covered. For all your insurance needs, visit or call us at 465-2631 or 469-5303. Delia Walwyn, people you can trust.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
When is the last time that you've had lunch or dinner away from home? The ambience of Sweet Cane on Port Zante provides you with that touch. Sweet Cane daily specials include burgers, wraps, soup, and tasty seafood dishes. Sweet Cane also caters for events and special parties. Call our Sweet Cane hotline at 465-4345 or 665-7628. Sweet Cane, they've got the touch.
This is your local weather forecast brought to you by Sweet Cane. Local weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis, valid up to 8 a.m. tomorrow, Friday, 29th May. Synopsis: notwithstanding the presence of a trough in the upper atmosphere, a surface to low level ridge will have a stabilizing influence over weather conditions. However, for a brief period this afternoon, the lighter southeasterly wind flow along with warm daytime temperatures could trigger localized buildups and coastal showers over and around the islands. Today's weather, partly sunny with a 40% or moderate chance of coastal afternoon showers. Tonight's weather, fair to partly cloudy with a 20% or slight chance of an overnight shower. Winds are southeast at 6 to 12 knots or 11 to 22 kilometers. Seas 1 to 1.5 meters or 3 to 5 feet. Today's sunset, 6:40 p.m. Tomorrow's sunrise, 5:36 a.m. This has been your local weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis, valid up to 8 a.m. tomorrow. Brought to you by Sweet Cane.
When is the last time that you've had lunch or dinner away from home? The ambience of Sweet Cane on Port Santy provides you with that touch. Sweet Cane daily specials include burgers, wraps, soup, and tasty seafood dishes. Sweet Cane also caters for events and special parties. Call our Sweet Cane hotline at 465-4345 or 665-7628. Sweet Cane, they've got the touch.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Why not stay in? Turn off the alarm clock and sleep some more on your perfect mattress from Quartz. For the widest range of mattresses from the world's best brands, the best value guaranteed. Shop today and let our sleep experts help you to decide on the best option to suit your needs. At Quartz, we don't just sell mattresses, we're offering you the best night's sleep. So, sleep in a little on your new mattress from Quartz. Quartz, bringing value home.
This is an unprecedented announcement from Horseman's. Get up to $30,000 off and pay zero VAT on top of that. It's Horseman's Automotive Unprecedented Sales Event happening now. Yes, for the first time ever, you get up to $30,000 off and pay zero VAT on top of that. Yes, pay zero VAT and get up to $30,000 off on top of that. This has never been seen before. Unprecedented savings at the Unprecedented Auto Sales Event at Horseman's Automotive. Up to $30,000 off and pay zero VAT on top of that. Let me repeat, up to $30,000 off and pay zero VAT on top of that. Don't miss it. It's unprecedented. Terms and conditions apply.
Flo's new combo plan, the people's plan. Combo. Got a new combo plan. You can call anyone, no matter which network you dey on. Just use your Flo.
I want a combo, but not for my belly. I feel me cell phone, so me call anybody. Call Mr. Man, call Granny. On the island, Flo, come boom.
Yes, there is no need for to force no more. Cause with Flo combo plan, you're paying less for more.
Flo got a new combo plan. You can call anyone, no matter which network you dey on. Just use your Flo.
Dial star 129 number sign to activate your combo plan today.
Welcome back to Voices. Our guest, Attorney Chesley Hamilton. We've been having a really interesting discussion here this morning. We're going to pick up from where we left off, but focusing, Chesley, on the state of emergency. I think most people, well, we had no calls the first time. We have a caller. Let's take the caller now. Hello?
Yes, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chesley.
Good afternoon, Miss.
And my name is again.
You forget me, Miss
Anyway, I
Emily. It's
missed
Ken.
a lot of the morning session because I fell asleep. But I got up and I heard the interview, the talking.
Mm-hmm.
And I found it rather intriguing, the conversation, because I think people see politics as a game where certain persons are the game players, and the electorate are the pieces on the game, like a chess.
Mm-hmm.
So the electorate job is just to march down to vote for who they say we must vote for. No attempt is made to educate our people. When you try to educate, you get cross-talk and party talk. And so some persons have taken upon themselves to put up government, take down government, put up government, take down government. You only hear certain things at the end. You hear, well, I did say, and I did say, and they did do, and they did do. Now, I have been following politics way back in the 60s, you know. That is why I tell people I don't belong to any party, because I have observed it. People manipulate other people's minds. And I've decided years ago it wouldn't happen to me. Because here it is. My good friend Chesley, he knows the condition of the Labour Party. Corruption, nepotism, cronyism. I mean, you name it, we got it. The leader, they're going up for election again. And there has been no change in the leadership. No change. The policies have not changed. The thing about control, it had nothing to do with policies. Now, Dr. Drew, I think, could have been made the leader of the party. It wasn't done. The promises about stepping down will never happen. And to suggest that Dr. Drew be more balanced, he said he did things, right? I did the politics of economic transformation, and socialism and capitalism don't mix. Do not mix. And it is obvious that Dr. Joe is because he has been there promoting direct foreign investment with the aim of helping our countries. That's all they do. He can see. He has been around the party when the Marriott came and the other came, and they even with the ganja. First preference was going to be given to a white gentleman investor. I've listened to some of them talking about how they get the funding. And even before the electorate, the pieces on the board game, decide to vote, all the parties out there selling out our patrimony, if you want to call it. The investors say, well, I will give you so much, and when you get in, and some giving two sides, and Dr. Drew's a part of it. And anybody who knows anything about socialism, you can't subscribe to that, and that is what I'm disappointed with him with, you know. I spoke to him about it, you say you went to Cuba.
Sylvain.
He said, right?
No, don't go. Listen.
No, wait, no, give me a chance.
Well, then don't go. I'm not stopping you.
Just hold on one second.
I'm asking you a question.
Miss Henry, just object. Go ahead.
I'm not telling you to go. I'm not being...
Sorry.
I'm saying to you, the context in which I use socialism when it came to Dr. Drew is to say that he has balance because he was not only educated in Cuba, but he also was educated in the U.S. That's where I use both. So he has an understanding. He has an understanding of the socialist world and understanding of the capitalist world, and it is that equipoise and balance that he brings to leadership. That's what I said.
It cannot be. That is why they overthrew Manley. It cannot be. Don't deceive yourself.
But let's go to Manley. Let's go to Manley, Sylvain. Let's go to Manley. Manley was one of those persons who happened to have an opportunity to serve twice. He came the first time. He was in the social. He came back the second time. As according to Siago, he died a socialist. But he was able to come back. Listen, let me just finish this point. He was able to come back a second time.
Miss Henry, you'll get an opportunity to respond.
He was able to come back a second time.
Just listen to him a minute.
Won the electorate for the second time, hand off to people who then end up serving and breaking the cycle of two terms to Jamaican prime ministers when PJ served and two and hand off to Portia. What do you say to that?
That's not the point.
But I am telling you that is what I observe. That is my observation. Observation might be different, but that is mine.
Yeah, I understand, but you misunderstand.
Oh, really?
What is this? Democratic socialism is the American true thing, you know. You had in Grenada with Maurice Bishop. You have in Cuba. Where does Dr. Drew stand? You can't be...
Where do you stand on the manly point that you are making?
On the manly point I was making is that you cannot be a socialist and a capitalist. Plain and simple. And you're trying to make Dr. Drew somewhere in the middle. They don't meet.
Sylvain, my education is Canadian.
I know you got it in Canada.
Right.
I got mine in Jamaica.
And we have practiced democratic socialism in Canada for umpteen of years. There is universal health care, there's universal education, there is baby bonus, there is welfare, there's all of these social programs
hold on 1 minute, please.
in a capitalistic society.
Hold on 1 minute. If you guys are talking over one another, you won't hear what the other is saying.
Right,
so let us give each a break to talk. Let's listen, and then we respond.
So
why doesn't it work?
Miss Henry, go ahead.
Now, I want to know, how could my good friend Hamilton, with a fair and just conscience, ask people to return the Labour government? Dr. Joe, nothing wrong with Dr. Joe.
That's your
he's
question?
in the wrong party, and to say.
That's your
all
question?
Right, wait, give me a chance, man. You said, give me a chance. Give me a
Go
chance.
ahead.
And you were talking on
No,
Monday.
I'm just asking this the question.
So, wait, man. So, you have a situation like a woman. A woman have a man, banger, banger, banger. So she leave and she go to another man who banger. You are asking that woman to go back and be abused. That's what you're doing, you know?
That is your
That's what
analysis.
people are
That is
thinking.
your analysis.
We had 20 years of it. You know, because you are alert, informed. How could you, with a fair and just conscience, what you are doing is called retaliation.
Okay, let him
And
let
seeking
him
revenge
respond now, Miss Henry,
at the
please.
expense
Miss
of the
Henry,
Labour people.
Miss Henry, let him respond now. Go ahead, please. Chesley.
Listen to this, Miss Henry.
Yes, you know me and your good friends still.
Listen, no. I have nothing but respect for you. Listen, Miss Henry, you just asked me a question. How can I, with a fair and just conscience, ask people to vote for the Labour Party? Here is it. I believe in second chances. You are a Christian. Let me finish my answer. You are a Christian who says the Lord's Prayer. Forgive us all our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. I am simply saying to you, if I, who ran against Timothy Harris twice in this country, Timothy Harris, who was with Denzel Douglas for 18 years, in Parliament, supporting Denzel Douglas with all of what he did. If I, Chesley O'Neill Hamilton, could in 2011 walk with Timothy Harris from Bellevue to Atlas, okay, before there was a team unity, to show that I was willing to give Timothy Harris an opportunity and a second chance and a second coming, which, in my opinion, he has squandered. I, Chesley O'Neill Barker-Leco Hamilton, is quite willing to give Denzel Llewellyn Douglas a second chance because I believe in second chances. It is that simple.
Miss Henry?
But Denzel Douglas has had 4 chances.
No. He has one opportunity. Listen to me. He had one opportunity that lasted 20 years. One.
Hello.
I am simply telling if he wants to serve a second time, I am quite willing to give him.
4 times inside here.
But Timothy Harris has been in Parliament for more than 25 years.
You know the corruption in that party. Why are you sending back people there for?
In the party. So it's about a party. It ain't about individuals anymore.
The what?
It is about a party, not about individuals. It is like when I joined PAM. When I joined PAM, you know what people told me? Chesley, you're a good man, but you're in the wrong party. That is what they told me, you know.
Okay, I think we have to move on because you guys are talking over one another. We're not getting very far.
Right?
So let us continue.
Encouraging people to go back to labor. It is pure revenge.
Okay, Miss Henry. Okay, Miss Henry.
Opinion, Miss Henry. That is your
Chesley.
That is your.
I think we need to move on. The point has been made on both sides. So let us continue. I was asking about the state of emergency. Your view on that is well known. If you can just reiterate very quickly, please.
Well, I want to put it in the context now that there is an injunction been argued. And I want to say this. When people deny you your rights, when you are a constitutional democracy, that denial of your rights have to be reasonably justifiable in a free and democratic society. In Canada, it is called the Oakes test. In the UK, it is called, and in other jurisdictions, it's called the Worms test. It's two cases, two different cases, but it's a balancing act. Is it a denial, total denial of your rights? Is it proportional? And can it be reasonably demonstrated, reasonably justified? What is the nexus between the denial and what the government is trying to achieve? I am simply saying to you that and that is called the purpose test. If the purpose of denying us our rights is to deal with COVID, I am simply saying that the government, because it's going to be a reverse, what we call in law, a reverse onus, the government has to justify why it is denying us our rights. And I'm simply telling you, please. Well, I would pause at this point in time because we have someone on the line, and I think that should take precedent.
Hi, Mr. Anthony, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
All right. Can you just tell us what happened in court this morning in relation to the injunction?
Well, I'm still trying to figure out what happened this morning.
Tell us as best as you can.
Because as at the end of about 3 hours of actual discussion, the court, well, maybe 2 hours. At the end of about 2 hours, the court adjourned and came back and made an order recusing himself from the matter and giving an order for the respondents, that's for the government and ZIZ, to file their responses by 10 p.m. tonight, and for the matter to be heard before another judge at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Before you continue, did the judge say why he recused himself?
Which judge recused himself?
Well, that is the interesting thing. And perhaps you might need to speak to the lawyers for the Attorney General's chambers. Because there was no formal application made for recusal. But there was some, how can I put it? Some statements made by lawyers for the Attorney General which suggested that in their view the judge should recuse himself. A rather alarming development in our view. So there was no application, recusal, no factual basis advanced for the recusal. But suffice it to say that after 2 hours or more, the judge found it necessary when he came back to recuse himself.
Let's just confirm who is the judge. Let's just confirm who the judge is.
In our view, but one that I think we will be careful not to speak to, and perhaps would direct you to speak to the Attorney General's lawyers as to what happened.
But for the 2 hours, what happened in court?
Well, for the 2 hours, what happened in court is that the Attorney General sought to have the hearing of the matter adjourned till next Tuesday, and the judge indicated that he was going to hear the matter today, and he was not adjourning it till next Tuesday. And just before the judge finalized his order in that regard, they then made this suggestion that they want to be heard without the parties present, only among the lawyers. And there was this reflection by the judge on the issue of whether or not the judge should not recuse himself. And after perhaps an hour and a half of discussion, the judge rose for an hour and came back and then made an order recusing himself.
So where does the case stand at the moment?
Well, the matter has now been scheduled. But before bringing the matter to an end, the judge did make a case management order that the respondents, being the Attorney General and ZIZ, filed their responses by 10 o'clock tonight, and that the matter be set before another judge for tomorrow morning.
Okay, so the case will actually continue tomorrow morning.
Well, yes, continue is your word. I guess it will start tomorrow.
Okay.
And I just want to, since that you do have me on the air, I want to just make a point to clarify the record. This originating motion is not about an injunction of any state of emergency or an injunction against any election. This is an originating motion that alleges that the government is using the state of emergency in a manner that is discriminatory, that the regulations are disproportionate and being applied in a discriminatory manner, and not necessary at this point for the managing of the COVID-19 pandemic based on the medical and scientific evidence that the government itself has advanced. That's what this case is about. And it's about ZIZ, Broadcasting Corporation, a state-owned media, not ensuring that all political voices and views are heard. It's not about getting free time on ZIZ. It's about getting equal time. And it's about ensuring that the government and the governing parties don't have access to the public airwaves which belong to the state for their exclusive use. It's about ensuring that the activities of opposition parties are covered in the news programming and current affairs programming of the state-owned media. Most of your listeners would remember that there was a decision in that regard already in the Nevis case a few years ago. So this is not about injuncting elections. This is not about injuncting the state of emergency. This is not about opening up the borders for planes to land. This is about ensuring that the government does not continue to use the COVID-19 emergency regulations to give itself an advantage in the political campaign and to suppress the voices of the opposition and the supporters of the opposition. That's what this case is about.
One takes it that the government is denying the claims being made.
Well, the government had an opportunity this morning to argue that case. Instead, they sought to delay it until next week, Tuesday. That did not succeed, they then sought to get the judge to recuse himself. The matter is now been set for 10 tomorrow. So we await what new strategy they will come up with tomorrow to delay the actual hearing of what we allege is the abuse of the process, where they are using COVID-19 as a cover to give themselves an advantage in the campaign and to suppress the voices of the opposition and the supporters of the opposition.
A quick question to you from Chesley Hamilton, your colleague.
Could the public or the media be allowed to follow if this is done via Zoom or anything? Is there a link that the public can follow these arguments? There's public interest, and the court's supposed to be a place that is open to the public. Is there any way that these arguments and these presentations could be followed by the public via the...
Well, Chesley, it's interesting that you asked that question, because that was a submission made this morning by the government's lawyers, and we object to it on the simple basis. And you don't make law, you don't make procedures as you go along. We are in a constitutional democracy.
Yes.
So there are rules of court. In regular circumstances, our court proceedings are not broadcast over the radio.
No, I am not asking for that either.
Therefore, even if we are now hearing court by way of Zoom, you can't be broadcasting that either without some rules of court in place.
Exactly, because it can...
There are no rules of court that allow for the broadcast of court proceedings over the radio.
Well, I wasn't asking for it to be broadcast. I'm asking if they can follow, meaning if
Well,
they could,
as
if
it
they
is right
can
now,
log
in
in
any
with their
court
mics
matter,
muted.
my brother, only parties can attend. If it's an open court matter, then of course the usual rule is that the media is allowed as what we call the fourth estate.
Yes.
It is through the media that the public become aware of what's going on in the courts. So presumably, I would have no objection to media personnel, representatives being in on the Zoom. But what I'm saying, in those circumstances, a proper application has to be made.
That was my point, because I was asked by someone, and I said to them they'll have to apply to the court in order for them to get a link.
That's right.
You understand? So that
because
was
we
what
have to be
I said.
careful. We don't want it's another very secure system. It's Zoom. You don't want to be able to have people, getting in on the call that are not authorized. You have to be very careful with those things.
Yes.
So there has to be, but that request was made this morning, and we objected in the sense that what we're saying is that not that we don't want people to hear the argument. I would love for the entire world to hear what we are alleging this government is doing. But it's not necessarily the best thing to do in terms of the practice.
Okay. Do you?
There's no policy, as far as I'm aware, regarding the broadcast of court proceedings.
Okay. Do you anticipate that the case will be completed before the elections?
We will insist. We cannot allow this government to continue to use the COVID-19 regulations to suppress the opposition.
No.
Police are stopping 3 and 4 and 5 vehicles driven by Labour Party candidates and supporters, while at the same time, yesterday, there was a procession of unity vehicles almost throughout the entire island. They were not stopped by the police at any time. I have had to intervene on numerous occasions, where the police have sought to stop vehicles being driven by Labour Party candidates and supporters. I myself was in one of those drive-bys. They've used a law that they claim defines a procession. When you read the law, procession is defined as a mixture of people, pedestrians, and vehicles. If you think about it for a minute, if 10 vehicles are driving down the road and that's a procession, it means every traffic jam is a procession and therefore is illegal. That's nonsense.
Now, what are the implications if the case goes beyond the elections? What impact could that have?
Well, I have confidence in the judicial system. I have confidence that no judge is going to allow lawyers for the government to delay this matter beyond tomorrow. I have every confidence that that's going to happen.
Sylvester, I know that you have somewhat of a Canadian training and education, and I was, before you came on the air, drawing to the attention that things of fundamental rights and freedoms that are denied in Canada are subject to what we call the Oakes test and must be reasonably justified in a free and democratic society. when the government goes and deny your rights, not just limit it, but denies your rights and fundamental rights and freedoms, and the onus is shifts to them to justify that. I don't think that it's a case that could last beyond a half a day of arguments. That's my assessment in terms of what you're approaching.
Let me tell you this, and it's really not even a question of where I studied or anything else. It's really a fundamental principle. Emergency powers have a season. Emergency powers are unconstitutional in normal times.
Yeah, we call it War Measures Act.
Okay, it have a season.
Mm-hmm.
They are to be used in abnormal times.
Amen.
And they must be scrutinized by, in a parliamentary democracy, the executive must be scrutinized by Parliament.
Ooh, Parliament is now dissolved.
Parliament is dissolved. We have a government, we have an executive.
That is at large.
That is locking everybody up, depending on how long the Prime Minister decides.
Mm-hmm.
He says he's advised by medical personnel. But at the end of the day, that decision is his.
Mm-hmm. By virtue of his
Nobody
appointment.
is reviewing that decision. There's no way of getting that decision reviewed. We don't have any medical or scientific evidence that tells us what the reasons are. Does the virus only come at night? It doesn't come out during the day? What level of testing is done? Where is the testing done? We don't have the medical evidence.
But he puts you under house arrest every night.
But more importantly, what we have, assuming that this is serious, which we know it is, in terms of the pandemic. But what do we have? We have an election in which we have produced evidence, documentary evidence before the court, where the governing party has received permission from the police to be out for an indefinite period. They have a letter authorizing them to be out with no stipulated time period. Whereas the opposition is getting letters to only use microphones and only have 4 or 5 vehicles for a fixed period of time. Our fundamental rights are not given to us by the good intentions of the government. They are ours. They are inalienable.
Amen.
And therefore, if it is that people are able to be out indefinitely during the next week, that must be available to every political party. We must not ask for it in order to get it.
Every individual, even if not the parties.
If the government has determined, the police have determined, and the police is part of the executive, they're part of the government.
Certainly.
If they have determined that it's possible to be out indefinitely over the next week, well, it can't be something only given to the Unity Coalition.
Amen.
It must be given to every political party. Whether they use it or not is up to them. It must be given to them. It must be announced. We don't need... ZIZ is not making history when it does what the law requires it to do. What's this nonsense about historic decision? ZIZ made its announcement yesterday, 1 hour after we served them with our application for the injunction and the originating motion.
You're referring to their announcement that they're going to open ZIZ to all political parties for...
That's correct. That announcement was made. We served ZIZ yesterday morning at 9:35 a.m. Their statement came out after that.
Okay, well, the Attorney General said in a statement that was issued either late last night or early this morning that the government is going to pursue the case vigorously. We've heard the opposition...
Well, the government's lawyer came today not to pursue the case vigorously, but to ask for it to be adjourned till next week, Tuesday.
In the person of...
Well, that...
Christopher Hamill Smith from Trinidad.
Okay.
All right, but
ask for it to be adjourned till next Tuesday because he was only retained last night and he needs time.
Well,
among other things.
we've heard the opposition, and we have been trying to get the Attorney General as well because we want to get both sides. But thank you very much for coming and
You're quite welcome.
and explaining the situation. Thank you very much. Quick comment, Chesley? I know you've been commenting on and off and so on. There is the suggestion, though, from the government side that, look, the state of emergency is essential in the effort to try to restrict the virus and try to preventing the spread of the virus. Why is that not a good enough argument for you?
You know, Ken, it is not a good enough argument. It is not a good enough argument because it's not supported by the science. But Ken, this argument reminds me of when I was trying first time around to argue that we need electoral reform. And the then government then came with a number of committees, one of which my good friend Mr. Backus was on. The Constitution speaks of commissions, and the government came with a number of committees that were shadowing these commissions. And it was very difficult for me trying to explain it to the ordinary person and the public and even the region at large that this was not electoral reform that was needed. Because true electoral reform is an electoral system that the opposition could live with, not the government, the opposition. Not the incumbent, but the person on the outside. And we still don't have that. So this argument now about the state of emergency, let me pivot to it quickly. You cannot have an incumbent which already have an incumbent who already has an advantage, now deciding that they're going to give themselves a super advantage by having a state of emergency. Because the executive, which by virtue of their appointment to cabinet, because parliament is dissolved, so all the elected seats are vacant. All your elected representative and representative government, that is vacant. And as of nomination day, you now have candidates for those seats. It is by virtue of your unelected position, your appointment to cabinet, that's why the Attorney General, the senators, all of them, their appointment to cabinet, that they now run the whole system and the government. And they are also competing in the same election. So they are like the referee, they are the people who write the laws, they're the people who execute them, and they're still players on the field. Can't be in a free and democratic society. That is what this thing is about. So therefore, under the cover of a state of emergency, they are trying to conduct an election that's supposed to be free and fair and free from fear. Now, what is the evidence that you need to justify? You need the COVID, information. The last person, and if you listen to Dr. Martin's commentary that he put out on social media, the last person that came down with COVID, the incubation period for that, even if there was supposed to be a latent or an asymptomatic case, has long gone, the incubation period. So what is the fear locally? What is the justification for locking us down and putting us under house arrest every night? There is none. There's nothing on the island. Now, difference in terms of when you're talking about opening the borders and allowing people from hotspots coming in, etc. That's a whole different story because you have to be prepared to test and track and so on in terms of those persons, if you're going to and quarantine and monitoring, all of those things. You have to be prepared for that. If you're not prepared for that, that's a whole different story. But the onus is on you, the government,
let me ask you a question.
With that argument.
Let me ask you a question.
And deal with it.
The Electoral Office and the Supervisor of Elections, what is their role in a state of emergency? Do they maintain the freedoms that they have or they should have to ensure that the election is conducted properly, free and fair, as we like to say?
Boy, that's a great question, Ken. I don't even know if you understand the levels of that question.
I want the answer.
Because the executive supersedes everything, because fundamental rights and freedom are suspended. However, the framers of the Constitution were wise enough not to put parliamentary elections in Chapter 2. So the democratic rights and freedom is and parliamentary elections is in Chapter 4 of the Constitution. So therefore now, when you come down to ordinary legislation, you say, well, these still pertain. That does not go with what happens in Section 2. Chapter 2 of the Constitution, where your fundamental rights and freedoms are suspended. But the process leading up to the poll is fundamental. It's a prerequisite. It's a requirement for there to be a free and fair election, and election free from fair. And that is being undermined by the government under the cover of a state of emergency, under the cover of darkness. The government is doing everything to impose its super advantage over the will of the people, the opposition, etc. And that is where it is wrong. You cannot have an election that is free and fair and free from fair, where the executive, the cabinet, the incumbents, the candidates, with the state machinery, the police, the army, and everything like that, locking you down at night while they're at large with guns, circulating your house while you're under house arrest, trying to conduct a campaign that can be, in anyone's imagination or conscience, be said to be free and fair and free from fair.
So
let me just give you an example in closing. Way back in the 70s, when one Washington Archibald ran for election, Washi said he voted for himself in a certain box, and there was a song, "We want to know who get north in election." Okay? Pam argued then that the box should not be taken from Molyneux and taken up to ZIZ or in the army camp and counted. Count the votes in the constituency where they are. Because we didn't want the army collecting the box, and they said box disappeared and ended up in field and all sort of things. When we came out of that to where we are now where we are conducting an election, and the army and the police are roaming the streets while you cannot participate in your democracy fully at nights. And as Sylvester put it, what happened? The virus operates in the day, but it does in the night, but it doesn't operate in the day. We need full and complete participation in our democracy, and let the competing of ideas and expression and conscience and everything compete in the universal marketplace of ideas, and let the best person win. That election, we could say, is free and fair and free from fair, and we can congratulate the winner and say that is our government, a government by the people, of the people, and for the people.
So how important is this case? Some people might still say, look, the opposition brought a case, they're trying to be spoilers.
That is because you're saying these things without looking at it through the lens of common sense. Let us apply our common sense and let us apply our consciences. This is not about me choosing one side over the other. I got locked up. I demonstrated for a system of government and elections that is free and fair. When we got locked up for electoral reform, it's because I meant it. It's because we want it. It is still there. 5 years after unity, the same system that Denzel Douglas left is still there. And I am going to be perpetual and perennially in opposition until we get a system of elections and a system of electoral reform that is second to none. Well, it doesn't even have to be the best. It can be the second best. But it will be the second best because the best is not invented as yet.
So how important is this case? That's the question.
The case is part of a process of letting us understand that in this constitutional democracy, we have parliament, we have the executive, and we have the judiciary, the co-equal branches of government under the Constitution, with the Constitution being supreme. And therefore, when Parliament is not there to supervise the executive, we can go to the judiciary and say, you, the executive, you are not at large. Your power is not to be to the extent of suppressing everyone else's power, because in so doing, that will become dictatorship and totalitarianism by appointment. And we are about an independent people who came out of colonialism where the appointed rule. And we are about the elected supposed to rule and control the resources and the operation of this country. Timothy Harris right now is not ruling because he is elected. He's ruling right now because he's appointed.
Okay, let's take a few important messages and we'll come back and hear your final thoughts.
Found the Sound 98.9 FM. This is an unprecedented announcement from Horseman's.